God, we praise you for this day. And God, thank you for bringing us all together. And Lord, I pray that God, that we just do the business, God, just for the best interest of our people, Lord. And God, we just thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and we just thank you for all this. Amen.
Dick Lunch.
Here.
Frankie Harvest.
Present.
Bill England. Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Julia Coates. Here. Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr. Connie Glory Jordan. Lee Keener.
Honey.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton. David Walkingstick.
Amen.
Kara Callan Watts. We do have a form.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for the approval of the minutes of August 13th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Minutes approved. Get down to our reports and Marshall Lamb.
Well, I want to say good night, but good evening. I want to start this out by stating that there's a lot of rumors going around that we've had layoffs at Indian Child Welfare, and we have not. We have offered all of the potential people who were affected by the Mace County project jobs, and all but 9 have accepted. The one has declined, and we're not sure why, but they wouldn't lose any pay or any leave or anything. It'd just be like a lateral, or not a lateral, but a transfer over to another job title. So I want to put those rumors at rest. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
On the NCP program here, what happened to it? I mean, I didn't realize it had been eliminated until I got calls, numerous calls from citizens and employees.
It really hasn't been eliminated. It has been expanded to all the counties, and when it's expanded, it affects the positions. So that's the way I.
Okay, so it'll still be there in Mays County, well, other counties too, but it'll still be run the same, or?
Not to the extent that it was, because it's so expanded. And, but I'll double check on that, I'm not sure.
Okay, appreciate it. We had a number of families that were affected. These employees went out of their way. There was the school called one of the workers, ICW workers, and noticing a student was struggling. The ICW worker went to the school, picked up the child, took him to Miami, and she was suicidal. Another was a woman, it was a woman that they called an ICW worker. She noticed serious signs, took her to Laureate, and they changed her medication. She was clinically depressed, changed her medicine, and she attributes that ICW worker with saving her life because she was considering suicide. And there are numerous cases that they told me about, but I hope it isn't reduced, the service. I hope it isn't reduced to the a lesser extent, because it provided a very valuable service.
Yes, it did. And I wish we could have expanded that same type of service in all the counties. But I'll double check on that and make sure.
Okay, I appreciate it.
The child support enforcement unit will begin to receive direct payments starting November 1st. Previously, this office had contracted out that service and to an outside agency, so we're going to start billing ours thanks to the assistance of the Cherokee Nation Financial Resource and our office collaborating in that effort. So we're real happy about that, and we anticipate in 2013 to receive about $2.5 million on the receiving end of that. The closing voucher program, we don't have a closing estimate on that, but we estimate there's going to be about 7,000 vouchers out in that area, and hopefully by next month we'll have the exact number. I mean, we did. We're starting up the process to get our angel tree, and we want to encourage each of you all to get an angel offer free, because we always have children that are left out of that program. The LIHEAP program, we're making preparations to come in on that, starting that. That's always begins in November. We'll start up taking applications on that program as soon as we get our funding notice. And so I'm sure you'll be getting calls on that. The elders in need, we've served over 1,200 elders in need throughout this program, and we're still taking applications. And just as a reminder, we've lowered that age to 60. So just wanted you to know. Child care, we're making preparations for the council and administration to introduce yourself to for us to introduce you to a few of our clients and services up here. And these clients are the future leaders of the Cherokee Nation, and they're most vulnerable, and that's our children. And we're going to do that at the same time as this committee meeting next month. And we're not sure if we're going to have a great big feast for you guys, or we're going to have chip and dip. But we want to invite you to come up and tour the center. We're cleaning it all up, and if you've never been up there or know where it's at, well, it's over right behind Sequoia School, and it's a big facility. So, anyway, now, do you have any questions?
Any questions? Go ahead.
For the Angel Tree program, who do they contact if they want to volunteer?
Brandy Lemley, Lemley.
And is she located at the complex, or do you have?
She's actually works Indian Child Welfare out of. I think she's actually out of Clare. She's on the Cherokee Nation.
Marsha, would you please have someone from your staff email Gail and share that information with us?
Sure will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Thank you, Marcia. And from Community Services, oh, there's Gary.
I wasn't, and actually, if you don't care, if we could start housing first, and then we
Sure.
could move back towards
Sure.
community services. Apologize for not being here on time, but it looks like that we timed it just right. HUD is here starting today to begin a regular review of the ARA funds from several years back. And we have been over in a meeting with them all day. Ron is on his way over, and I was going to introduce Ron Qualls to you. Many of you probably know Ron. Some of you may not. But Ron comes back to the Cherokee Nation, and he is the executive director of community services. And then for housing services, that individual would be me. But if you all have any questions on either way, just let one of us know. Those questions have came in the past that have been, for whatever reason, we've made sure that they got to the right people, and I'll continue to do that. So don't feel bad about that or anything. But I will answer any questions y'all have on housing, and then we can introduce Ron and Mr. Qualls. We'll introduce Mr. Qualls to you for community services.
Harry, a while back I asked you if the insurance program that we have for the housing, if they could provide insurance for our community buildings. Have you gotten an answer on that?
Yeah, right now, no. But we are looking at that to see if we can come up with an alternative. And right now, the way that the insurance program is set up, we can only offer it to NAHASDA eligible participants. So that would put those community groups and other folks out, or those even at 80% or above out. But we are looking at some alternative plans to see if we can come up with something. And we are working with our insurance company, Amrand, to see if we can come up with some type of alternative that maybe we can begin offering that. I would say that maybe in the next couple of months we might have an answer for you for sure. Amrand is putting some information together for us, and they are looking at maybe coming up and sitting down to visit with us here, I believe about November. They would come up in October, but October is a very busy month for them because it's their annual meeting time. So they have lots of stuff going on in relation to that. But whenever they do come up, we will try to get some information from them and get that to you, because we do want to at least have an alternative to be able to offer to. We would like to be able to offer not only to our community buildings, but also even maybe sometimes some of those. I know that I've gotten questions before up in Nowata. People who live way up like north of Nowata, out in the middle of, not close to the rural fire department, and insurance is just outrageous for them. And they need some affordable insurance, but they're not 80% or less because they have good jobs and they're working. So we are looking to see if it's something that we can do.
Okay, appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Okay, and with that, I'll introduce Mr. Qualls. Ron is no stranger to the Cherokee Nation, and I think it's probably good that he's back home.
Hello, Ron. How you
Good
doing?
afternoon.
Afternoon.
As some of you may know, I've been here 2 weeks. And so I have the staff here, and if you have any questions, I'm sure they can provide an answer or an update. So unless there's anything directly for me, I'll allow my staff to entertain some questions, comments.
Any questions? You did a good job, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Oh, down to roads and transportation.
Good afternoon. I'll keep this brief. I do want to mention that you should have our report in your packet. I do want to mention we have a community meeting coming up on the 25th September for Daytown Road in Delaware County. For those of you around that area who would like to come, it's going to be at Kansas High School again on the 5th of September to introduce a preliminary design to the community folks that live along that route. We do have 5 projects under construction right now. They're all progressing relatively well. We've had a few minor setbacks with the weather here recently, but they are progressing well. That's Cedar Crest Road project in Mays County, along with Cedar Crest Bridge. It's a separate project. Barber Road is in the very final stages right now. It's got signs and stripes, guardrail all installed on it. Just some minor things to be patched up before, not patched up, that's not the right word to use. Minor things to be done before we final out that project. Twin Oaks Bull Hollow Road in Delaware County is just getting underway, but it is progressing very well. And then Lee Creek Bridge in Sequoia County should be wrapping up here in the next few months. So with that, any questions?
What's the time frame on that Lease Creek Bradley Ford Bridge?
Right now, we're looking at mid-October. That could be extended some. I would say by 1st to mid-November for sure, but right now the contract's set to expire on mid-October. We need to be looking at an extension there because of some issues that we've had with the pier drilling. But as it stands now, it's mid-October.
And Barber Road?
Barber is, actually the contract expired on September 14th, just last week, Friday I believe. And but it was striped signed and have guardrail installed as of that day. In the past, we've considered that significantly complete or substantially complete, and went ahead and allowed them to work past that deadline without incurring any damages.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Michael, the other council members may know this, but can you provide us or provide me with how you rate these roads as far as their importance and how you select which ones are going to get done?
Yes. Just something in writing at a later time?
If you
Yes.
just email me or
Yeah.
all of us, I
Yes, ma'am.
guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sure will.
Before you get away, I have some paperwork to give you, so don't run off after the meeting. I believe we were looking for a magic contract from General. Did you ever get that?
I did. I sent that out should have been sent to all members of the tribal council. It was not the full contract. It was the changes to the Indian preference language that is being proposed right now. I can send you the full contract, and I thought which is like 1,100 pages. I hope if you would like to see that, I'd be glad to get it to you. It's not a problem, but just the Indian preference language is what I sent.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I believe I'm next also. And again, this is just public comments, an opportunity for folks for public comments, and it is an important part for our program to entertain any public comments. That's the reason this is on the agenda. If there are none, that's all I have.
Michael, what time is that meeting at Kansas?
Let me check. I'm going to say 6, but let me check for sure. I'll get back with you.
Kansas 6.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Anna?
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
I just have a couple of brief things, and one is that we hope next month to be able to give you a report on the state's mortgage foreclosure settlement. Their application deadline is this month, so maybe next month we can kind of give you a summary of how that went. Nationwide, the average debt settlement that the consumers received was $70,000, and there's no way the Oklahoma citizens are going to get that through the settlement. So. And then also, based on the economic times and the tough struggles that a lot of the people are going through, Marcia and Diane and I are working to try to organize a family resource fair that we'll probably hold next spring to try to help families with alternatives. We'll contribute budgeting, some of the social services and career services, and probably bring in the health to try to help people figure out how to best manage in today's economic times. Other than that, you have a copy of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I wanted to thank you for all your help with the Lovejoys there in Stillwell who were having their troubles. But I thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Go on to old business. There is none pending. New business. Time?
I have reviewed and I don't know whether Billy Hicks, yes, Billy, come up here. Billy over the past month has sent me the federal regs pertaining to water and sewer, the policy that was written by Cherokee Nation back in 2010, and the application that they provide to the people to fill out. The problem that we're having, and I think it's probably running throughout the 14 counties, is your house, if you're building a house, has to be 90% complete before you will be eligible for water and sewer. Well, most of us that's built a house knows we kind of need our water as quickly as possible. So what's happening is they start looking at that house when it's 90% complete, and by the time we get water and sanitation to them, the house is not only complete, but it's 3 or 4 months down the line, and it's had to sit vacant, or worse, they've moved into it, and they're trying to carry water to it. and they still don't have any sewer, so a lot of times the sewer is just running out on the ground, because to qualify for these funds, you have to be under a federal level of money that you make. So it's pretty tight here when they get a loan to build a house. It's pretty tight if we start saying, well, add water and sanitation on top of that. So they're looking to us for water and sanitation. And so I looked at the federal rules, the federal regs, and as I understand it, Billy, it's not in the federal regs the way we have it. They kind of left it to the tribes to make that decision. And I think I looked at your policies, and your policies really don't say much about it either. It's when you get to the application. And the application's got that 90% on there, and that trailer has to be permanently set. And I know Mr. Thornton is just dying to talk, so I'm going to throw it to you. I'll just go ahead and throw it to you.
What I'm going to say is that your local water districts say that you cannot, I think it's 75%. That home has to be 75% done before they will set a meter.
Well,
And that's where the problem is, and it's got to also have a septic system sitting there.
Okay, now.
So we need to do the septic system first, and then the local.
Give her back to me?
Yeah.
And I'm glad now that you brought that up, because that was what somebody else told me, that you could drop it to 75%, and if you'll get that septic system in there, then we can get the water in there, and that will at least help them a little bit. And if we would take our application even before the 75% and put them in the line, because I think right now, Billy, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we've kind of taken this to mean that we don't really even look at their application until they're that far along.
That may be what they assume, but we would prefer them to get the application in at the time they are considering building or considering buying that trailer. That way we can take care of some of those pre-construction activities before there's a house there, so they aren't sitting there with a house that they can't live in because there's no services.
I think they're getting some miscommunication.
Yes, I believe that's probably the
There
case.
must be something that they've got in their mind, because I've had a number of them come talk to me saying, well, we can't even turn our application in until we get 90%, or on a mobile home, we get it set, skirted, wheels off, tongue off, everything. And of course, a prime example is what happened out on Shady Grove Road just recently. We had the new mobile home come in. They take the tongue off, the wheels off, they put the skirting on. The application goes in. We're about 3 months now down the line. They haven't been able to move into the house because we don't have any water and sewer. Now we're getting water and sewer in, but during that 3 months, that family had to find another place to go because they'd already given up their other place to live, which meant they had to crowd in on mom and dad or make other arrangements. So what I'm proposing, and maybe we don't have to do this by act of this body, if we were just interested in seeing this happen, I believe Mr. Hicks will make this happen, because I believe it is within the tribe's ability to move that number down and to maybe do some other discretionary things with the mobile home park. So I was wondering if the rest of you are having the same problem, and if we would be for saying rewrite that policy by next month, and let's get this thing a little more usable, friendly for our constituents. And I don't know, I'm just going to throw that out there and see what you all respond. I don't want to do it where it's law. I want to give the department the ability to do it themselves if this is the will of the body.
Well, that's something that's come up, and it's kind of a nightmare for us when we get somebody that comes in the office and they're under the impression that they can't apply for services until their home is nearly complete. And so, they come in, the home's nearly complete, they apply for services, and then we have a choice. Do we put them ahead of other people that's been waiting to get them services because they're living in a home without services, or do we make them wait? And there's really no winning situation there for us.
if we drop the ball back, though, where you had more time, would that not help you a little bit?
And that's the way it is now. It's just, I think there's a miscommunication there. We will gladly take their application up front, and we encourage them to bring their applications up front. But there's some popular misconceptions, I think, out there that are confusing the status that the home has to be in before we provide services with them sending in an application.
Well, I went through your 261 pages of federal regs, because I'm pretty used to reading federal regs, and I could see where they were headed, that they were giving the tribes the option of determining how far along that dwelling had to be if it was a new dwelling. And they also seemed to be pretty open on giving us the call on what we do about the mobile homes. They just said it had to be
Permanently located.
Permanently located, which permanently located could be when it hits the ground where it's going to be setting. I mean, we could be very creative with that. I would propose to you that we at least need to knock it back to that 75% where we have water districts then that as soon as, maybe, I would suggest this, that we knock the sanitation system back to 50%, and the water at 75%, because that's where water, most of your rural water districts are willing to put it in. That gives you time to put the sanitation system in, then time to get the water in. You still got 25% of the time before they have to move into the house. Can you do that? And I'm not hearing any objections here. Can you do that on your own, working with admin, and bring us something next month?
Sure.
Unless I see some rejection by this body, I don't want to put it in the form of a law, because I always want you to have the ability, if we need to move that figure around. And law, once it's set, well, we're stuck. But if I'm not hearing anything from the body, that's going to be my suggestion, that we move forward with that, and you bring it to us next month.
Sure.
I can't be the only one that's had this. It's whether you're going to do the chicken and the egg or a cart and a horse, what comes first. And we need to get the water and sanitation out there, because they can't close their permanent loans. They're paying that extra interest. They've got no place to live, or worse, they're trying to live in that house without those two essential items. So, well, if we make let me ask, if we make it in the form of a motion, can it just be our recommendation from this body in the form of a motion? I would make the motion then that the recommendation of this body is that we put ourselves in a position policy-wise where we start the sanitation part of the project for your area at 50% of completion of a new home, and when the wheels hit the ground of the property for a mobile home, and that at 75% of completion of the home, and when the wheels hit the ground on the mobile home, that we start our water. And I would put that in form of a recommendation from this body.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I have Ms. Watts and then Mr. Thornton. Have Ms. Watts first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I probably don't know enough about the program, so I'll also defer to my colleague and support it if it's something that the body supports, but I think I'd appreciate details brought back, because there's always been questions about the water program to me, and like whether income guidelines are applied, or we should even be providing water in some areas, if it's sustainable or not. I know we have had issues in Rogers County up north where E. coli has been an issue, and then it turned out to be a bigger project, depending on what was going on. So if you could report back in detail monthly, maybe what those objectives are, so that we can kind of get a better gauge of measurements to make better informed decisions later, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. What I primarily was thinking is to go ahead and give Mr. Hicks the authority to to do what comes in, what's best for our people. And I know that you're going to have to contact, there's several water boards out, and every water board is different. And you need to go in and check all those water boards and see where we're at with them and what they will do and what they won't do. And I don't know if you've already done that. I don't know if and you probably already know what they do. I don't know. Some of you people will, whether they will or they won't. But I'm for giving him the authority to go ahead and look into this and get it done, as far as I'm concerned.
Frankie, did you have? Okay. Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was my question too, concern with the 5075 numbers. Is that something you came up with, or is that just something that came out of discussion today?
I think that just came out of discussion today.
He'll still have the, I'm sorry to ask the speaker a question, he'll still have the ability to change that number around if he needs to, adjust it, as you said.
Well, right now it's at 90.
Right.
And it's just not working, and I think Billy would agree, it's just not giving us enough time. Once you get to the last 10% of the house, that goes quick.
Right, and the problem, I think, is, like you said, there's the 90% that's in the application. Our Cherokee Nation policy says substantially complete, and then the IHS policy really is silent on the extent that the home must be complete before it receives services, but it does have a list of things that the home has to contain. It has to be permanent, has to have a plumbed kitchen, one bathroom with a toilet, adequate insulation, permanent heating, electricity, and an adequate roof. Once we can verify that it has those elements, then we should be able to serve it. The problem seems to be that we have a misconception from our constituents that until it gets to that point, they can't apply for services. We want them to apply as early as possible so we can help them. A lot of times we get situations where our clients have a piece of property, and when we go out and look at it, it's just really not suitable for a home, but there's already a home there because that's the way they understood the policy to be. But there has to be a home there before they contact us. And if we can contact them early and give them some technical assistance, they might decide they don't want to put a home there because it's going to require an aerobic system or a lagoon, or there's no rural water and they're going to have a well and the water quality. So we want them to come in early so we can help them make those decisions.
You don't conduct a perk test? You don't decide whether first?
We can, but the problem is they're under the conception they can't apply until there's a home there. So when there's a home there, we'll go to the perk and the perk fails. But we can't move the home. There's already a home there. We've either got to do an aerobic system at that point or do a lagoon. And at that, they say, well, why can't I have a regular septic system? Well, the soil test doesn't pass. So we've got to. It's better to catch that early if that's a big issue for the homeowner and help them make an informed decision.
So I think I understand all that, but the 5075, is that where we want to be? And I just didn't want to lock you into that if the other number's going to turn out to be better. I don't know.
Yeah, we can sit down. I'll work with Ron and Charles and have something back to you guys to review for the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Janelle?
Yes, thank you. Well, the 90% is sure not working, because when people call me, they tell me that they applied 6 months ago and they don't have an update of their status, because you can get emails from them wanting to know some kind of, is the paperwork lost, or then they'll always tell me, they told me the house has got to be 90% completed before they're going to come out here, and then during this, like we wanted it done yesterday because the house is almost complete.
Exactly.
And it still makes a long time after they're 90% complete before you come out there and do it. And I've just got my little speech memorized. I tell them, well, the wheels of the Cherokee Nation turn very slowly, blah, 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 to try to put them off. And I just know the 90% rule is not working. If you can lower it down to 75%, well, that'd be better. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Well, you said a lot. Ms. Watson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are there income guidelines and such?
On the tribal funds there are. Our Indian Health Service funds have no means testing. They're just like funds that are used at the clinics and the hospitals. So tribal funds have income guidelines, but the IHS funds do not.
So that's with the, when the $500,000 Mercedes driving homes come up with those, okay. Fair enough, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bill, do we have somebody in-house who can go do a preliminary perk test to see
Yes,
if that property
absolutely.
can pass or not?
Absolutely.
Do we do it all the time? Or?
If they will apply for services soon enough and ask us to come help them do that, we absolutely will. The problem is we get the application after the home's already there.
Do we charge for that?
No, sir. No, that's funded by Indian Health Service compact dollars, and there's no charge for that.
Seems like that ought to be the first step. If I was building a house, I wouldn't buy any lot until I had a perk. Because then you got a lagoon or an aerobic system, and they're twice, maybe not twice as high, but close to it probably. Did you have a question? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was just going to suggest that on your application, you might put that at the top, that it's strongly suggested that they go to this department, that they get this study, because your aerobic systems are running about, is it 3,000 more?
Yeah, they're almost twice what a regular system is, and then you've got the annual maintenance and operational costs with
Well,
them.
they knock the heads off of them with the lawnmowers, and then there's, another $300. And probably do it the first of every mowing season, because they don't see it until they're on it. I run into the same rock every year.
Yeah.
Because I forget where it's at. Till I mow it the first time, and then I know after I have to put a new set of blades on. So, do we need to take a vote on that, or can we just ask him to move forward with it and give us something next month?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think I've got a motion and a second, and we're discussion. Is that correct? We have not voted yet. And I even forget what the motion now was. Could you redo that?
75.50.
Yes, it would be 50% on the sewer and 75% on the water. The only thing I was concerned about is I forgot about that toilet. Does it have to actually flush or be in there?
It just has to be in there.
Okay, well then it'll work. Because I was thinking we were getting the
Actually,
egg before the chicken.
as long as we can tell that there's a place there to mount the toilet when they get their floor coverings done, that's fine for us.
Okay, and the kitchen plumb is, actually, we could be looking at the plumbing, we don't
Yeah.
have to see the whole kitchen.
It's roughed in, and we can see if there's going to be plumbing in there. You bet.
Then I would, I think that motion will work, and that would just be a recommendation motion from this committee, and it wouldn't go any further, it wouldn't become law, because we'd just be working with you to change the policy. Everything has to be rough in. Yeah, so all has to be to a rough in stage.
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be my motion.
Another comment?
Would you mind if we amended that somewhat to appease Councilman Keener and Thornton to give him the authority to negotiate for a better rate?
Well, yeah, he might be able to get better
Yes.
50%
That-
from the rural water district.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Anything that gets them closer to having water all along the process, instead of carrying the water to the house when they need it, would be helpful.
Absolutely. Okay.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? You got your marching orders. Thank you. That's it, boy. Any announcements? We're meeting again Monday, October 15th at 3 o'clock. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?